Oh my God, do. Somebody please say it ain't so. Now that the Diddy trial is going on, people got to do their own investigations and get to the truth because it look like it's nothing but a circus going on up there. They're not mentioning Prodigy. They're not mentioning DMX. And people been saying that Jay-Z and Diddy took out Prodigy and DMX because they were exposing the music industry.
The industry, man, it's not the same. Doesn't have to do with talent, it's about playing the game. The industry, real is dying to get in. The industry, just to find they don't fit in. The industry ain't what it used to be. The industry's trying to control the way you MC. They want you to dress like this and talk like that. But I'm going dress like this and talk with the bat. The industry, got your word meaning nothing. The industry, what you heard, because he's bluffing. The industry, money, hate, but I dare you to try to take a thing off my plate if you ain't got a strong mind. The industry will break you down, it's a matter of time. The industry, vultures with nothing to feast on. See me, I'm getting my beast on. The industry, stay in the dirt, play in the dirt, test the wrong one in the industry and you will get hurt. I'm not an industry artist. I'm an artist in the industry. Industry, wanted, dead or alive, new artists to sell their souls in the way they survive. The industry don't give a about you, but the industry couldn't make a dime without you.
Diddy and Jay-Z been making millions off of young talent for years, and these young talents didn't know what they were getting themselves into until OGs like DMX and Prodigy started to call out the music industry. Prodigy also shed light on it being so many corny rappers in the game because corny rappers with no talent are very easy to take advantage of.
A lot of corny, man. A lot of corny rappers, man. I'm just like, yo, man. I could name a list of 100 corny rappers, yo, right now. Mad from New York. They ain't supposed to be rapping. I mean, who really like these? Who really like these? Tell me, I want to know somebody.
Then I met the devil in God's country. You know, and it's not so much who, it's what, you know, what happens.
The Hip Hop Task Force was created to watch Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy, to watch the artists that was connected with P. Diddy.
Three conversations with the devil. Why with the devil?
Well, to make a fair decision, I think you have to be aware of both sides. And I was approached, so of course I had a conversation. It doesn't mean I rode with him or believed him. I just was able to recognize him by what he said to me and what he offered me.
The first time anybody ever heard of DMX, he was on the track with the Locks, who was signed to Bad Boy Records. Prodigy allegedly lost his life from choking on an egg. If that don't sound bizarre, I don't know what does. One thing for sure, Diddy and Jay-Z been playing a major role in what's been going on in the entertainment industry for years. And DMX and Prodigy been exposing people like Jay-Z and Diddy for a long time.
If you're old enough to remember when hip-hop wasn't just viral clips and sound bites, but real stories told straight from the source, you know how frustrating it is when some of the most important interviews just vanish. Countless hip-hop interviews and stories have mysteriously disappeared over the years. Clips wiped from YouTube, recordings erased, entire conversations scrubbed like they never happened. Whenever artists start exposing the dark, behind-the-scenes power plays in the industry, those voices tend to get silenced fast. And this is exactly what happened to some of the most important interviews with DMX and Mobb Deep's Prodigy. Both of them openly warned about the dark side of the industry and even named powerful figures like Diddy and Jay-Z while also exposing who the real puppet masters are behind the scenes.
The group that was formed like in the 1700s, something like that, 1600s. This dude named Adam Weishaupt. He started this group of people, like powerful, rich people that basically shape popular opinion and the way, you know, the world is gonna move forward.
But just like many others before them, many of these interviews where Prodigy and DMX spoke out have been scrubbed from the internet and memory hold. Why? Because the truth they exposed threatened the very people running the show. DMX hinted in interviews about an industry built on control and coercion where certain moguls keep artists under their thumb, and both Diddy and Jay-Z's names come up again and again in these conversations. Prodigy, who definitely was not shy about exposing the industry, often talked about a group of powerful people who pull the strings, not just in music and entertainment, but society at large. And while a lot of the footage where they talked about this stuff has mysteriously disappeared, some clips still survive. So let's break down what DMX and Prodigy were really trying to warn us about, and why someone might not want you to hear it.
A lot of times people say, you're a conspiracy theorist, you watch too many movies or something like that, you know? But a lot of stuff I was learning was very real.
Okay, let's start with DMX and his warnings about the devil in the industry. Back in 2007, DMX went on HBO's Def Poetry Jam and performed his powerful poem called The Industry. It was a big moment, and X wasn't holding back. He exposed how the music game really works and how artists are pressured to sell out or play along just to survive.
The industry, man, it's not the same. Doesn't have to do with talent, it's about playing the game. The industry, real is dying to get in. The industry, just to find they don't fit in. The industry ain't what it used to be. The industry's trying to control the way you MC. They want you to dress like this and talk like that. But I'm going dress like this and talk with the bat. The industry, got your word meaning nothing. The industry, what you heard, because he's bluffing. The industry, money, hate, but I dare you to try to take a thing off my plate if you ain't got a strong mind. The industry will break you down, it's a matter of time. The industry, vultures with nothing to feast on. See me, I'm getting my beast on. The industry, stay in the dirt, play in the dirt, test the wrong one in the industry and you will get hurt. I'm not an industry artist. I'm an artist in the industry. Industry, wanted, dead or alive, new artists to sell their souls in the way they survive. The industry don't give a about you, but the industry couldn't make a dime without you.
DMX didn't just talk about shady contracts and record label beef. He believed all this was part of a bigger spiritual war happening behind the scenes.
Whenever I went through something, it brought me closer to God. And I stayed into something. So now I'm closer to God. But being closer is hard. The attacks get stronger, become much harder to fight, and they last longer. That's what it's always been. Joy with the pain, dark with the light, sun with the rain. With the right perspective, there can be something to gain. Look for the good and the bad, not the sun and the rains.
In his music and interviews, X often mentioned dealing with the devil and hinted that certain people in the industry were tied to that dark energy, and their job was to push artists to sell their souls. One of the wildest moments came in 2013 when X went on the Dr. Phil show and said he had not one, but 3 encounters with the devil. And he explained that to really understand the world, you have to see both sides and make your own choices.
You've had a song on every album, A Conversation with God.
Yes.
You've had...
And a prayer.
And a prayer, and I think you've had...
Three conversations with the devil.
3 conversations with the devil. Why with the devil?
Well, to make a fair decision, I think you have to be aware of both sides. And I was approached, so of course I had a conversation. It doesn't mean I rode with him or believed him. I just was able to recognize him by what he said to me and what he offered me. I said, oh, now I know who you are. That's why I stopped talking to him. I put out 7 albums, but he's only on 3.
But this wasn't the first time DMX talked about crossing paths with the devil. In a 2009 jailhouse interview while serving time in Arizona, he claimed he met the devil in God's country. Now, X didn't name names, but it was clear that whatever happened shook him, because he said straight up he'd never go back there again.
Let me know. I first came to Arizona, man, and I remember one day coming from the studio at 6 o'clock in the morning and pulling over on the highway. We like 4 cars, you know, just to watch the sunrise. And it was at that point that I fell in love with Arizona. I said, you know what, this has to be God's country. You know, because I'd never seen anything as beautiful as that sunrise. Then I met the devil in God's country. You know, and it's not so much who, it's what, you know, what happens and the things that the devil does. It's not so much a person, even though he acts through people. You know, you can't call one person the devil.
Joe Arpaio?
You know, you can't call any one person the devil. You can't do that because no one person has enough power to be the devil. You know, and you know, it's through all these hardships that I realized that, you know what, this is God's country because I met the devil here. Because if I hadn't met the devil here, I wouldn't realize I was strong enough to overcome the obstacles that the devil would place in my path. And it's by overcoming these obstacles that I realized that this is God's country because he helped me get over these obstacles. He helped me get over these hurdles.
Okay, so but when you're done here, when you're out of here,
I'm not looking back.
You're not coming back?
No, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back for a show. I'm not coming back for a visit. I'm not even driving through the states. If I'm in a plane and they're gonna fly over it, I'm gonna go around.
So what did DMX really mean when he said he met the devil in Arizona? Was he just speaking in metaphors, or was he hinting at something real? Maybe he had a run-in with someone who offered him a deal, the kind of deal that comes with strings attached, and he had to decide whether to sell out or stand his ground. Let's not forget who DMX called out by name over the years. Jay-Z, Diddy, and even label executives like Lyor Cohen, all major power players in the industry who at that time were basically untouchable. There's an old interview where DMX straight up accused Diddy of R-wording his artists, and he hinted at some seriously dark stuff happening behind the scenes at Bad Boy Records. Now, some fans believe DMX was using the term to call out Diddy for financially exploiting people, but others think he meant it literally, especially in light of all the allegations that came out about Diddy over the last couple of years.
Like, damn. I'm glad, you know,
And this isn't the only thing that DMX talked about. He also talked about how there were people in the industry that basically wanted to take you out to dinner and stuff to get a hold of your music. And you cannot tell me that DMX was not talking about Diddy, because the first thing that I thought of is when 50 Cent said that Diddy asked to take him shopping.
Now, when it comes to Jay-Z, after he became president of Def Jam in 2004, DMX claimed Jay started blocking the release of his 6th album, Year of the Dog, again. And according to X, it was all because Jay decided not to retire after all and wanted to get rid of the competition.
You know, like I said, I had the crazy track record, Def Jam, everything was good. You know, I go to do the 6th album, and you know,
Jay-Z became president.
Yeah. You know, when he first got the job, he hit me with the call like, yo, dog, MH is running the building, like, yo, you good? Finish the album, shoot the video. What happened? Shit didn't. You know, we don't know. What you mean you don't know? How do you listen to a whole album, pick a single, shoot a video, then don't know?
But X's disgust of Jay ran deeper. A big part of it was about who Jay was tied to behind the scenes, namely people like Lyor Cohen, the same guy who openly admitted to pushing substance use culture through artists he signs, even though he knows it's fueling the opioid crisis.
A real bad problem, DMX.
I'm so sad. DMX, there's two people inside of him, and the Earl is one of the nicest people. I put him up in Lake George. Earl loved being silent with a fishing pole. I shit you not. He just would stay on that dock hours and hours and hours and hours. Yeah, very, very sad. You know, I think the opiate problem, the syrup problem, is the biggest problem that I've ever seen and I've ever faced, and been a part of, and I can't with it. You know, the crack thing was devastating, but at least the rappers were bringing a spotlight to you becoming a fiend. Okay? And I thought that spotlight, head crack, helped, even though it was harsh and really really rough, particularly on women. But I think it helped change the course of the crack epidemic. I don't know what's this opioid thing, man.
But being a crackhead wasn't cool back then. Being a crackhead wasn't cool. Now they seem like they're making it cool to be drinking lean and syrup and.
It's the most dangerous. It's the most dangerous thing that's facing our society.
So why sign an artist that would promote that?
Because I already answered that question. You weren't paying attention. She asked me talent or issues, and I said talent. But I have to. I can't give up on people.
But I'm saying that's hypocritical, though. You're saying the
it's
opioid problem's a problem.
opportunistic. Yeah. I got people to feed. I got a business to run.
You're gonna make Dame Dash take this clip and call you a culture vulture.
Who's Dame Dash? You brought him up. I don't even know him. So you bring his name up. I don't even know him. So
y'all made a lot of money together.
Made a lot of
money.
money.
Come on, don't do that to him.
I don't know him. I really don't. So, I don't know what to tell you. I won't be complicit.
And this is the same man that Jay-Z referred to as his mentor. In his memoir, Decoded, Jay wrote, Lyor Cohen, who I consider my mentor, once told me something that he was told by a rabbi about the 8 degrees of giving in Judaism. Now, Lyor is definitely one of the biggest power players in the game, but he's also wrapped up in a lot of controversy. There's even a conspiracy theory that he might be a CIA plant, using his influence to push certain agendas in hip-hop. And the reason people say this is because Lyor has been caught on camera slipping up with sketchy stories about his past, like in his 2023 Vlad TV interview when he first said his mom was just a housewife, but later on in the interview, he let it slip that she actually worked for the Israeli government.
Incredible parents, 3 other brothers, and just a loving, happy family. My dad was the head of psychiatry for Kaiser Permanente, and my mother was just a housewife and raising children, and remarkable period of my life.
Now, I've always assumed that you were born in Israel because you have a slight accent when you speak. Have you heard this before?
Yeah, so my parents weren't immigrants because they weren't staying here.
Okay.
So my biological father was coming here just for his education. And my mother worked for the Israeli government.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was born, I went straight back to Israel.
Oh, so you stayed there for a while.
I spent my first 3 years in Petach Tikva.
Uh-huh. Okay, and after you graduated, you went to go work for the Bank of Leumi?
Yeah, Bank Leumi is the National Bank of Israel.
Uh-huh.
My mother got me the job, and it was just when the Shah fell. In Iran, and all of the Jewish Persians came straight to Beverly Hills. So we were counting money there.
A lot of money.
And, I was supposed to be a financial analyst, but I ended up counting money, and I think I was making $14,000 a year. I was miserable. It was a horrible existence, but my mother got me the job. I have a college degree, and so I thought that was the responsible thing for me to do.
Yikes. By the way, Jay-Z himself has faced allegations of being an informant and having ties to government agencies through his right-hand woman and president of Roc Nation, Desiree Perez.
Why is the industry bowing down to Desiree Perez? Is it because of her connection to Jay-Z? It can, because a lot of people is connected to Jay-Z. There's a lot of agents and employees at Roc Nation. Desiree Perez just happens to have the juice. And one can say it's probably the ties to the cartel. She probably knows how to make the skeletons disappear.
Now, going back to Lyor and DMX, let's not forget how Lyor disrespected X after he sadly passed from a suspected OD in 2021. According to Billboard, Lyor referred to X as a gremlin and said, so the race against time was X was a gremlin, reckless, and looking for a wall to crash into. His death is no surprise if you listened to and watched what X was. Now, we all know that DMX faced his own battles, but calling a man who just died a gremlin and basically implying that he had it coming, that's not just disrespectful, it's straight up evil. What's even crazier is that Lyor later claimed he helped DMX's career. But according to the late Irv Gotti, Lyor and Jay-Z actually used to laugh at X, and they never thought he had what it took to make it.
First meeting I ever had, I was like, we gotta sign DMX, and they laughed at me. I remember when I left the office, Tina Davis said, she knew what I wanted to sign DMX. She said, if DMX don't sell, your ass is fired. Jay and Dame did not believe in DMX. Jay would be like, you think he's better than me? And I'd be like, he's nice just like you. I said, if you look in the hood, there's less of like you and more like him. Yeah, but he don't want to live that. He's depressing, Gotti. And I said, I don't give a f. So Jay used to watch me grind with X, and he was off with the Hitman. And then something strange happened when I made Get At Me Dog. If you remember at the beginning of the video, it's the heartbeats, doom, doom. DMX, doom, doom. Live at the tunnel. Y'all don't even remember the tunnel. Funk Master Voice, doom, doom. And then I put that sound bite. Let's take it back to the streets, mother. Doom, doom. The video's flashing, f***ing up your eyes. It caused change. And now, there was no more shiny suits. We back to the hood, and X is the leader of this revolution. I used to put on the wall a triangle with 5. And it was like, they used to clown me. And they used to be like, who's gonna buy his records, Gotti? Chihuahuas, he's barking. No one wants to hear that bullshit. And I'd be like, yeah. Sold 5. It was no more writing on the walls. It was, y'all can get behind me. I used to tell Lyor in the midst of the whole staff, and I would tell him, yo, shut the f up, yo. I said, you work better when you shut up and get behind me. Now this is what we doing. And he would shut up.
All right, now, if we're talking about people who called out Jay-Z and his powerful connections, then died under suspicious circumstances, we have to mention the late, great Prodigy and his warning about the Illuminati. And I know some folks roll their eyes at the word Illuminati, but Prodigy swore there was a real truth behind it, and it's way darker than these so-called conspiracy theories.
I still had no fear in my heart, you know, about speaking my mind and letting people know what time it is. There's no reason for me to fear because it's really nothing. There's nothing they can do besides and I'm not afraid of that. Ritualistic and rituals on little, you know, they little kids doing satanic rituals. Like, this stuff is really going on in this world. Like, you know what I mean? You got you know, sick people like Jeffrey Dahmer and different people like that. And I believe that it was a different background to it, why he was doing what he was doing. I think it was some ritualistic things going on.
Now, as for Prodigy and Jay-Z, they had a messy beef dating back to the late 1990s and early 2000s during the peak of New York rap rivalries. Jay later claimed they squashed their beef before Prodigy passed. But things took a dark turn when a letter Prodigy wrote from jail leaked online. And while this letter has been wiped from most major outlets, if you dig around obscure blogs and old forums, you can still find it. So in that letter, Prodigy claimed that Jay-Z knows exactly who runs the industry and society behind the scenes. But instead of warning his people or speaking out, Jay chose to side with those same powers for his own gain. Prodigy wrote, "The government, religions, politics, the Federal Reserve, IRS, and everything we believe and live by is a joke. Jay-Z knows the truth, but he chose sides with evil in order to be accepted in the corporate. Jay-Z conceals the truth from the black community and the world and promotes the lifestyle of the beast instead." Prodigy also promised that he would continue to relentlessly attack Jay-Z, Illuminati, and every other evil that exists until my lights are put out. "I fear nothing and no one," Prodigy added. "I'm fearless because the truth has set me free from the Illuminati mental enslavement, and I have been empowered by God and the universe." What's also wild is that just 5 months before he died, Prodigy dropped his final album, Hegelian Dialectic, the Book of Revelation, where he went all in on secret societies, hidden agendas, and the powers pulling the strings behind the scenes. On top of that, he was reportedly working on a full-on musical based on his Illuminati theories. But then, out of nowhere, his life was cut short on June 20th, 2017. Now let's get into the part that's got a lot of fans side-eyeing the official story. Prodigy had sickle cell disease, so most people assumed he died from complications. But when the coroner's report came out, they claimed he choked on a boiled egg in the hospital. Seriously, y'all, a boiled egg. The whole situation was so strange that Prodigy's family ended up suing Spring Valley Medical Center in Las Vegas. They said the hospital didn't take care of his IV properly and failed to keep an eye on his oxygen levels, even after doctors gave clear instructions to do so. But no one ever explained how it's even possible to choke on an egg while in the hospital. And let's be real, most of Prodigy's fans never believed that whole egg story anyway. A lot of them still think he was silenced because he was digging too deep and speaking too openly about the Illuminati and the elite circle that Jay-Z and Diddy are allegedly tied to. So when you look at everything DMX and Prodigy said, the names they dropped, the secrets they exposed, and the dark agendas they warned us about, it's hard not to wonder if they were targeted for speaking out. Both men called out Jay-Z and Diddy and the shadowy forces running the industry, and both died under suspicious circumstances. Coincidence? Or were they silenced for getting too close to the truth?
There's a high possibility that Jay-Z and Diddy had something to do with the passing of DMX and Prodigy. I don't know for sure, but I know one thing. People don't like other people playing with their pockets, and by exposing the industry the way that they did can make people want to take them out of the game, especially seeing where we're at now and where we were at then. It was already bad back then, but it's 1,000 times worse now. They messed up the industry so bad to where it's impossible to make some money because all of those old heads don't want to pass the torch. They just want to use and abuse the new talent and keep all of the money for themselves. Y'all gotta let me know how y'all feel about this in the comment section, man. I really do appreciate y'all. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and for you beautiful ladies out there, I risk my motherfucking life.
Risk my life to give you documentations, girl. I risk my life to give you documentations, girl. I risk my life to give you documentations, girl. I risk my life to give you